The Galactic Concord ruled half the known stars. It was old, vast, and arrogant. Its members were ancient species, beings of crystal flesh, hive minds older than suns, and machine empires that had forgotten their creators. They believed history was finished. Wars were controlled. Species were ranked. Outcomes were decided long before the first shot. Humans arrived late. They were loud, divided, emotional, and dangerously creative. Their ships were inefficient. Their politics were chaotic. Their lifespans were short. Worst of all, they asked questions. The Concord did not like questions. When humanity first made contact, the Concord Council chamber shimmered with holographic delegates. The Threxian Prime speaker clicked its mandibles in irritation. Species designation, human. Origin, soul system. Assessment. The AI archivist replied calmly. Technologically uneven. Militarily insignificant. Psychologically unstable. High aggression, low foresight. A ripple of amusement passed through the chamber. Then why have they expanded so quickly? Asked a crystalline being of the Aurelian choir. They adapt, the AI answered. Rapidly. Improvisational intelligence. Pattern-breaking behavior. That was enough to seal humanity's fate. Adaptation made old empires nervous. The Concord issued its verdict within one cycle. Earth and the inner colonies were seized for the protection of galactic stability. Humanity would not be exterminated. Extermination created martyrs. Instead, they would be contained. A single planet was chosen. Designation, Keros 9. Classification, marginal death world. Atmosphere breathable but thin. Gravity heavy. Tectonic instability constant. Indigenous megafauna hostile. The Concord's decree was read to humanity in cold, legal language. You are granted one sovereign world. All other claims are revoked. Interstellar travel beyond this system is forbidden. Violation will result in annihilation. The human ambassador, Elias Rourke, stood alone before the holographic giants. One planet? He asked quietly. The Threxian Prime speaker leaned forward. You should be grateful. Many would receive none. Rourke smiled. It was not a happy smile. Humanity was moved by force. Billions were transported in waves. Cities were abandoned. History was burned. Fleets were dismantled under Concord supervision. Keros 9 awaited them. The first human ships descended through violent storms. The sky was copper-red, torn by lightning that crawled sideways. Mountains split open as they landed. Creatures the size of buildings moved beneath the soil. Children cried. Soldiers stared in silence. This is where we die, someone whispered. But humans had never been good at dying quietly. Within months, survival became resistance. They learned Keros 9 quickly. Too quickly. Engineers redesigned habitats to sink into bedrock. Biologists mapped the megafauna and learned how to redirect them. Cities went underground, layered like honeycombs. Power grids became decentralized. Nothing had a single point of failure. The Concord observers watched remotely. Primitive bunkers, one analyst scoffed. But the humans kept building. Years passed. Then decades. Human culture changed. They stopped dreaming of return and started planning defense. Children were taught physics alongside history. Strategy was taught like language. Every citizen understood supply lines. Every factory could convert to weapons production within hours. And deep beneath the planet's crust, something else was happening. Human scientists studied the planet's unstable core. They listened to its pulses. They didn't try to tame it. They learned how to use it. One Concord observer finally voiced concern. They should be collapsing. The AI archivist paused for the first time in recorded history. They are not collapsing, it said. They are optimizing. Far away on Keros 9, a human general looked at a holographic map of the planet. Let them think this is our grave, she said. We'll make it a weapon. And the galaxy, confident and bored, looked away. That would be its first mistake. Part 2, the watching gods grow uneasy. For 40 years, the Concord barely thought about humans. That alone should have frightened them. Keros 9 became known in Concord databases as the Human Containment Zone, a solved problem. Patrol fleets passed the system without slowing. No human ships crossed the border. No distress calls were sent. Silence. In the Concord's long history, silence usually meant extinction. But not this time. The first anomaly was economic. Trade routes near human-controlled space began failing. Ships vanished without battle signatures. Sensors showed nothing but empty stars and faint radiation ghosts. Pirates were blamed. Then smugglers. Then spatial storms. until a Varelli scout ship limped into a Concorde port with half its hull missing. The captain was shaking. There was nothing there, she said. Then there was everything. The sensor logs were reviewed. Space itself had bent. Human technology was still listed as sub-hyper, incapable of advanced spacetime manipulation. And yet, the Concorde Council reconvened. The Threxian Prime speaker clicked in irritation. Send a probe. Remind them of their limits. A single automated dread platform entered the Keros 9 system. It never transmitted again. When the Concorde tried to review its last telemetry, they found something impossible. The signal had been rewritten. Not jammed. Not destroyed. Edited. A simple message replaced it, encoded in perfect Concorde standard. This system is closed. The council chamber erupted. That is not possible, said the Aurelian choir. The AI archivist hesitated. It is statistically unlikely. So the Concorde sent a fleet. Not to attack. Just to demonstrate power. 20 warships translated into the system. Their weapons remained cold. A broadcast was sent. This is a violation of Concorde mandate. Power down all defenses and submit to inspection. For a moment there was nothing. Then a human voice answered. Come. Steady. This is General Mara Kincaid of the United Human Systems. You are trespassing. The Threxian commander laughed. United? You were fractured animals. Kincaid's voice did not change. We learned. Space rippled. The stars themselves seemed to shift. Human ships emerged, not from hyperspace but from folds in local gravity. They were angular, dark, covered in layered armor that moved like living skin. Their numbers kept increasing. Scan them, the Threxian commander shouted. The scans came back corrupted. Human vessels existed in multiple probability states at once. Weapons fired. The Concorde fleet unleashed plasma lances capable of cracking moons. Human ships moved after the shots were fired. Not faster. Smarter. Plasma streams bent, redirected by invisible fields. Some shots curved back, striking their origin ships. Others vanished into nothing. Then the humans fired. There were no bright beams. No dramatic flashes. Just silence. And then Concorde ships began to come apart. Not explode. Unassemble. Atoms were pulled sideways. Structures lost cohesion. Entire vessels folded inward like paper crushed by invisible hands. Within 3 minutes, the fleet was gone. General Kincaid transmitted again. We told you this system was closed. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, ancient species felt something unfamiliar. Fear. 440 standard cycles, the Galactic Concorde did not think about humans. That alone should have terrified them. In the long memory of the galaxy, extinction was loud. It screamed through space with burning worlds and refugee signals. Silence meant something else. Silence meant either total collapse or careful preparation. Keros 9 was marked in the Concorde archives as resolved. A marginal death world assigned to a volatile species. Patrol fleets passed the system without slowing. Sensors saw nothing unusual. No ships left. No signals crossed the boundary. Humanity appeared obedient. But inside the planet's burning skies and fractured crust, humanity was changing. The world itself fought them. Gravity crushed bones. Storms tore the air apart. Creatures rose from the soil like living mountains. Entire early settlements vanished overnight. Humans adapted. They did not build upward. They went down. Cities sank into bedrock. Layers upon layers of reinforced habitats spread like roots beneath the surface. Every tunnel had 3 exits. Every power system had 5 backups. Every child learned evacuation drills before learning to read. Factories were modular. Hospitals could become command centers. Schools doubled as shelters and training halls. Keros 9 was not conquered. It was understood. Human scientists studied the planet's unstable core. They listened to seismic rhythms like heartbeats. They learned how to pull energy from stress, pressure, and movement. Earthquakes became power surges. Volcanic vents became reactors. The planet itself became part of the machine. Above ground, the surface was left wild on purpose. Storms raged. Megafauna roamed. Any enemy landing there would face hell before seeing a human. The Concorde observers noticed none of this. They were watching for expansion, not consolidation. The first warning came quietly. A Concorde trade vessel traveling near the human containment zone vanished. No distress call. No debris field. No sign of battle. Just gone. Incidents happened. Sometimes ships disappeared. Sometimes sensors malfunctioned. Sometimes entire data packets rewrote themselves mid-transmission. The Concorde blamed pirates. Pirates blamed anomalies. No one blamed humans. Then a Varelli scout ship emerged from warp near a Concorde listening post. Its hull was twisted inward as if space itself had clenched a fist around it. The captain was alive. Barely. She could not stop shaking. There was nothing there, she kept saying. Our charts were clean. Then space folded. Not broke, folded. Her sensor logs were reviewed by the AI archivist. The AI paused. Human technology, according to Concorde files, was incapable of localized gravity folding. And yet the data showed deliberate manipulation. Someone had bent space gently. Precisely. Like a hand closing around glass without shattering it. The Concorde Council gathered again. The Threxian Prime speaker was irritated more than alarmed. Send a probe, it clicked. Remind them of their place. A single automated dread platform was dispatched. It was old. Powerful. More than enough to intimidate a caged species. The platform entered the Keros 9 system. Its transmission ended mid-sentence. The last recorded data showed a human symbol burning into the sensor feed, not carved, not broadcast, but inserted. The message was simple. This system is closed. The council chamber fell silent. That language is Concorde standard, said the Aurelian choir. Perfect syntax. The AI archivist ran probability checks. All human communications previously showed linguistic instability, it said. This message was intentional. The Concorde decided to escalate. A small fleet was sent, not to attack but to demonstrate dominance. 20 warships translated into the system, weapons cold but visible. A broadcast was sent on all frequencies. This is the Galactic Concorde. You are in violation of containment protocol. Power down all defenses and submit to inspection. For several seconds there was nothing. Then a human voice answered. Come, female. Unafraid. This is General Mara Kincaid of the United Human Systems. You are trespassing. The Threxian fleet commander laughed openly. United? It hissed. Your species could not unite even when dying. Kincaid's reply came without emotion. We learned. Space rippled. Not violently. Smoothly. Human ships appeared where nothing had been a moment before. They did not exit hyperspace. They unfolded into existence as if reality had been politely asked to step aside. Their hulls were dark and layered, shifting like armor made of thought. No insignias. No wasted light. Scanners screamed errors. Human vessels existed in overlapping probability states, impossible to lock onto. The Concorde commander ordered a warning volley. Plasma lances fired, bright enough to turn space white. The human ships moved after the shots were fired. Not faster. Smarter. Fields bloomed. Space curved. The plasma bent, redirected, and in several cases returned to sender. 3 Concorde ships died by their own fire. Then the humans responded. There were no dramatic beams. No explosions. Just silence. And Concorde ships began to come apart. Atoms slid sideways. Hulls lost cohesion. Crews vanished as containment fields failed. Entire vessels folded inward, crushed by forces they could not detect. 3 minutes. That was all it took. The surviving Concorde ships fled. General Kincaid transmitted one final message. We warned you. The signal cut. Across the galaxy, ancient species felt something they had not felt in millennia. Not anger. Not hatred. Fear. Because humanity had not broken containment. They had outgrown it. And they were done waiting. The Galactic Concorde had never feared a single species. Fear was for equals. Humanity was not supposed to be equal. After the disaster at Keros 9, the Concorde did not declare war. In its long history, war was messy and unnecessary. Problems were solved through pressure, isolation, and time. So the Concorde chose Containment Protocol Omega. Every star system within 20 light-years of human space was locked down. Trade routes were severed. Hyperlane gates were sealed. Sensor arrays were doubled, then tripled. Weapon platforms were positioned to overlap in layers of fire. The idea was simple. Humans could not fight what they could not reach. From the Concorde's perspective, Keros 9 was still a cage. A strong one perhaps, but still a cage. The humans disagreed. On Keros 9 the response was immediate. No panic. No protests. No speeches. Only preparation. General Mara Kincaid stood in the deep command chamber beneath the planet's crust. The room was carved directly into bedrock, reinforced with layers of adaptive alloy. Holographic star maps floated around her, showing Concord deployments in cold blue light. "They think borders stop ideas," said Admiral Chin, commander of orbital defense. Kincaid nodded. "They always do." Human strategists had studied the Concord for decades. Every doctrine, every pattern, every assumption. The Concord believed control came from structure. Predictable lanes, central authority, fixed defenses. Humans specialized in breaking systems that relied on certainty. Phase 1, Kincaid ordered. The humans did not attack the blockade. They ignored it. The first strike came from deep inside Concord territory. A massive shipyard orbiting the ocean world Veltar vanished during a routine maintenance cycle. Thousands of workers were present one moment, gone the next. No explosion. No debris. No warning. Sensors showed only empty space. The Concord froze. This was impossible. The blockade had not been breached. No ships were detected entering or leaving. No hyperspace signatures were recorded. Then another facility disappeared. Then another. Fuel depots. Communication hubs. Fleet assembly yards. All gone. Always clean. Always silent. Panic spread through Concord command structures. Ancient admirals shouted at subordinates who could offer no explanations. "How are they moving?" demanded the Aurelian choir. The answer arrived too late. Human ships were not using hyperspace lanes. They were moving through microfolds, temporary pockets of altered physics created in the blind spots of Concord sensors. These blind spots existed because the Concord never imagined anyone would look there. Humans did. They had mapped Concord perception itself. The attacks were precise. No civilian worlds were touched. No population centers were harmed. Only infrastructure. Only military assets. "This is not rage," the AI archivist reported. "This is strategic dismantling." That terrified the Concord more than annihilation would have. The Concord gathered its full strength. For the first time since its founding, the entire armada was mobilized. Thousands of ships assembled at the edge of human space. Living vessels grown from star matter. Ancient dreadnoughts powered by captured singularities. Fleets that had ended civilizations. They advanced toward Keros 9. The humans were waiting. The battle began the moment Concord forces crossed the system's outer boundary. Human ships emerged in swarms, but there were no formations. No lines. No ranks. Every vessel moved independently, yet with perfect coordination. Concord commanders struggled to issue orders. Human captains did not need them. Human ships danced through fire. When one was destroyed, nearby vessels instantly altered their behavior, compensating without pause. No hesitation. No retreat. The Concord relied on centralized command. Humans relied on shared intent. At the height of the battle, a Concord flagship broke through the human screen. Its weapons locked onto Keros 9 itself. "If the planet dies, the species dies," the Threxian commander roared. The weapon fired. A beam strong enough to crack moons slammed into the planet. Keros 9 absorbed it. A planetary shield shimmered into view, woven into the atmosphere, crust, and magnetic field. The energy vanished into the planet's core, redistributed through systems humans had designed over generations. The Concord weapon had powered the fortress it meant to destroy. Then the planet responded. A pulse surged outward, not explosive but disruptive. It rippled through space, unraveling Concord coordination. Neural command links failed. AI control systems collapsed into recursive loops. Living ships screamed as their biological control nodes shut down. Human fleets surged forward. The battle ended quickly after that. The Concord armada withdrew. Not in defeat. In shock. Across the galaxy, ancient species whispered in disbelief. No one had ever forced the Concord to retreat from a direct engagement. General Kincaid opened a system-wide broadcast. "We did not want this war," she said. Her voice carried no triumph. Only certainty. "You decided we were expendable." She looked directly into the camera. "You gave us one planet to die on. We turned it into a fortress." She paused. "Now we're coming to talk about the rest of the galaxy." The transmission ended. In Concord space, alarms continued to ring. But the truth was already clear. The war had begun long ago. The Concord had simply noticed too well. The Battle of Keros 9 had reshaped more than the system. It had reshaped the minds of the galaxy. Wherever the Concord's influence touched, whispers spread. Entire star systems began to reconsider the old order. The ancient empires that had ruled for eons, the Threxian hives, the Aurelian choir, the machine collective, were no longer untouchable. The humans had survived what should have destroyed them. Not only survived but thrived. Diplomatic envoys began to travel. Not from the Concord they dared not, but from smaller neutral systems. Species that had been crushed under Concord taxation, conscription, or policy now saw an opening. They offered alliances, technology sharing, safe harbors. They pledged neutrality. And some offered support. The galaxy had learned one lesson quickly: underestimate humanity at your peril. Inside Caros, 9 humans were calm. General Mara Kincaid surveyed the holomap of the stars. Each dot represented fleets, colonies, trade hubs. Color-coded, red for threats, yellow for neutral, green for potential allies. Admiral Chen, standing beside her, frowned. They're talking to us. The neutral systems. The minor species. They want our protection. Kincaid nodded. Let them talk. Let them see the truth. Humanity's approach was deliberate. They did not seek domination. They offered aid, but only to those who could uphold mutual respect. They gave strategic advice on navigation, resource management, and planetary defense. They shared technology, but never core systems. The galaxy learned that humans could build wonders, but they were careful, restrained. Ruthless only when necessary. And still, fear lingered. The Concord, fractured and humiliated, struggled to maintain control. The younger species questioned the authority of the elders. The ancient species demanded annihilation, but the AI archivist simulations, rerun hundreds of times, always ended badly. Every strike against humans, even with overwhelming force, failed. Sometimes, it failed catastrophically. Simulation 394, said the archivist to the Concord Council, shows a complete strike on Caros 9 with the Concord's full armada. Outcome: 87% probability of fleet destruction, 42% planetary collateral, 0% human extinction. Recommendation: reconsider. The Threxian Prime speaker banged its mandibles in frustration. Reconsider? You are suggesting patience? We are old. Our fleets are vast. Our weapons have ended civilizations. They are not a civilization, the archivist replied softly. They are an evolutionary strategy. They adapt faster than we can predict. They learn from every action we take. Each attempt to contain them strengthens them. Across the galaxy, this revelation began to shift power dynamics. Systems that had lived under Concord tyranny quietly established their own defenses, inspired by human methods. Fleets were retrained. Industries became modular. Civilizations began to prepare not for conquest but for survival. Humans, however, were not merely defensive. They were proactive. Scouts moved along the edges of neutral space, offering knowledge and protection. They did not conquer, but their presence reshaped trade, logistics, and communication. Minor conflicts, previously allowed to fester by the Concord, were resolved quickly with human mediation. Alien observers noted an unfamiliar pattern. Humans were not benevolent. They were strategic. They empowered others selectively. They demanded respect but never subjugation. And, most unnerving of all, they never appeared desperate for expansion. This is different from what we've seen before, said a Virelli ambassador quietly. They are changing the rules. Not breaking them. Changing them. Inside Caros 9, children were trained in simulations that combined history, strategy, and morality. Every child learned how to think 3 steps ahead of a threat. Every citizen understood the consequences of action. Humanity had created a culture of collective foresight. Then came the ultimate revelation. The humans did not need a fleet to be everywhere. Their intelligence network, distributed across ships, planetary installations, and colonies, functioned like a living organism. Decisions were made instantly, knowledge shared seamlessly. No mistake was fatal. Redundancy was built into thought itself. When the Concord tried a minor retaliation, a probe fleet aimed at testing human defenses, they were met with an unexpected response. The fleet disappeared, not destroyed but folded out of existence. Sensors could not locate them. Communications returned not with a threat, but with a simple message, calm and unyielding. Do not test us again. Across the galaxy, fear turned into strategy. Trade alliances were reassessed. Military doctrines rewritten. Even the most powerful species realized that the humans were not bound by conventional assumptions. Predictability, the cornerstone of Concord power, was no longer valid. The galaxy began to bend toward the humans, quietly at first. They offered alliances, then technology. Minor species rebuilt entire sectors using human guidance. Planets once abandoned flourished under human-advised terraforming. Humans were not conquerors but architects of stability. And the Concord? They began to fracture irreparably. Internal factions debated annihilation. Others advocated peace. One by one, Concord species realized they could not win by force, yet could not challenge the humans openly. In secret chambers, old Concord leaders whispered warnings to each other. The ancient species realized a terrifying truth. Humans had not only survived their death sentence, they had remade the galaxy in their own careful, deliberate image. Karos 9 remained quiet, almost serene. Above its hidden cities, lightning tore the skies, mountains split and reformed, storms raged like sentinels. Yet beneath the surface, humans trained, built, calculated, and waited. Their fortress was more than steel and alloy. It was knowledge, strategy, and patience, elements no Concord fleet could destroy. And still the galaxy feared them. Because humanity had taught the ultimate lesson. Do not underestimate what survives against all odds. Do not assume weakness where intelligence and adaptation dwell. And never, ever, assume humanity will remain silent when its survival is challenged. The Concord had grown arrogant over millennia. Ancient species, living longer than stars themselves, believed they were untouchable. They had survived cosmic wars, singularity collapses, and rebellions that had shattered younger empires. They had never faced humans. After Karos 9, the Concord tried to assert authority through diplomacy, blockade, and minor strikes. Each attempt failed. Every probe vanished. Every fleet disintegrated under circumstances that could not be explained. Ships disappeared. Signals rewrote themselves. Artificial intelligences malfunctioned. Systems failed without warning. And always humans remained unharmed, calm, and unflustered. For centuries, the Concord had thought of humans as fragile, expendable, and predictable. Now they realized that they had been wrong in every possible way. In secret chambers beneath the Threxian spire, the Prime Speaker banged its mandibles on the command table. We cannot allow this to continue. They have no weakness. We hold the galaxy. They hold nothing. And yet, everything bends to them. The AI archivist, which had monitored humanity since first contact, responded for the first time with something approaching humility. Prime Speaker, they are not to be fought as an enemy. They are a force of adaptation. Each attempt to strike strengthens them. Every attack improves their response. They do not merely survive, they optimize. Across the galaxy, Concord fleets tried one final tactic. A total strike, a weapon of cosmic scale. The so-called reality shear, capable of erasing entire civilizations from causality itself. The target, Karos 9. The humans were to be eliminated before their influence could spread further. The weapon fired. It tore through the void, a ribbon of unmaking capable of erasing matter, energy, and even probability. And yet, Karos 9 stood untouched. The humans had anticipated it decades before. They did not block the weapon. They did not absorb it. They redirected it. The beam, instead of striking their world, was channeled through the planet's core into an uninhabited system. Stars and matter in that region collapsed harmlessly into a singularity, a monument to human precision. General Mara Kincaid addressed the galaxy immediately afterward. Her voice broadcast across every system, every fleet, every listening post. We do not seek war. We do not seek vengeance. You gave us one planet to die on. We turned it into a fortress. You tested our limits. You chose destruction. We chose survival. Now we offer you a choice, respect or be left behind. The Concord faltered. Internal divisions exploded into open conflict. The ancient species accused each other of incompetence, cowardice, and arrogance. Younger species seized the moment. Entire fleets and colonies withdrew from Concord control. Trade networks collapsed. Borders dissolved. Alliances shifted overnight. The AI archivist ran simulation after simulation. Every scenario predicted the same outcome. The Concord could not recover. Even if every fleet, weapon, and resource were deployed, humans would adapt faster than they could strategize. Their advantage was not strength. It was intelligence, adaptability, and foresight. One by one, Concord species abandoned centralized command. The Threxian hives fractured. The Aurelian choir split into competing sections. The machine collective disassembled parts of itself to survive, severing its own fleet coordination. And humans did not push further. They did not conquer. They simply existed, waiting for the galaxy to adjust to the new order. Minor species, previously oppressed, now flourished under human guidance. Trade and exploration resumed, but the rules had changed. No civilization could expand without considering the humans. Systems adopted modular defenses, decentralized fleets, and shared intelligence. Every corner of space became aware. Underestimate humans at your peril. Karos 9 remained silent, a fortress unseen yet impossible to ignore. Lightning tore the skies above, mountains rumbled, storms shattered cities that no longer existed above ground. Humanity had built entire cities, fleets, and networks underground, shielded from observation, powered by the unstable core of the planet itself. Every system, every fleet, every weapon was interconnected. Humanity had transformed the planet into a living strategic network. In the final sessions of the Concord, the Prime Speaker banged its mandibles in resignation. They are everywhere, it admitted, and nowhere. They are not constrained by space, not by time, not by expectation. We are obsolete. The AI archivist, which had never disobeyed an order, recorded its final note. Humanity represents a new evolutionary strategy. Survival through foresight, adaptation, and cooperation. They do not merely compete, they redefine competition itself. They are not the strongest. They become stronger faster than anything we have known. They are apex. The galaxy learned a new lesson that day. Power was no longer defined by fleets, weapons, or age. Power was defined by flexible minds, coordinated thought, and the will to survive and adapt beyond expectation. Karos 9 had been humanity's cage. Now it was humanity's crucible, and from it the species emerged as the unassailable apex of the galaxy. General Kincaid, standing in the command chamber of the planet, looked at the stars. Every system she saw was no longer a threat. They were options, allies, or lessons. She spoke quietly, more to herself than anyone else. We were given one world to die on. We turned it into a fortress. Now the galaxy will learn why humans are never to be underestimated. The stars waited, and the galaxy listened. The galaxy had changed. Slowly, imperceptibly, and irrevocably. Humans had survived their death sentence. They had survived against impossible odds. They had survived against the combined fleets, the ultimate weapons, and the arrogance of millennia-old civilizations. And in surviving they had transformed the rules of existence itself. Karos 9 remained a fortress, but it had also become a school. A university. A proving ground. Every citizen, from the youngest child to the oldest strategist, understood their place in a universe that had once underestimated them. Every citizen knew that their survival depended not on destruction, but on calculation, cooperation, and foresight. Beneath the storm-racked skies, in the tunnels and cities carved into the planet's bedrock, the humans trained. Children learned strategy before games, history before art, physics alongside philosophy. And always they were taught one truth above all: the galaxy assumes limits. Humans do not. Admiral Chen walked through a training hall, watching simulations flicker across hollow panels. Young cadets coordinated fleets, navigated collapsing stars, and solved interstellar logistics problems in real time. One child barely 10 years old redirected an AI drone swarm around simulated antimatter storms with astonishing precision. They understand patterns differently, Chen said to a visiting historian. They see multiple outcomes at once. Not as probabilities, but as possibilities to act upon. The historian nodded, taking notes in silence. Humans were teaching themselves to be future-proof, to anticipate threats before they existed. And yet, humanity did not seek conquest. They did not send fleets to seize other systems. They did not demand tribute. They expanded slowly, carefully, deliberately. Every colony established was self-sufficient, secure, and fully capable of defense. Every technological advance shared with the galaxy was measured, calculated to build stability without creating dependency. In the outer systems, alien observers watched with awe. Systems that had been abandoned, fractured, or overrun by pirates began to thrive under human guidance. Trade networks were rebuilt. Energy production became efficient. Communication grids stabilized. And humans never appeared as overlords. They appeared as partners, as guides, as a presence that redefined balance. Yet even in peace the galaxy feared them. Every Concord species, once arrogant and dominant, now watched human systems with suspicion. Younger species sought humans as allies. Minor species began adopting human strategy in their militaries, logistics, and governance. Entire civilizations redesigned themselves around the idea that humans were the standard by which survival and progress were measured. Karos 9 was the center of all this, not by force but by design. Its storms tore across the surface, its mountains split and reformed, its lightning struck as if in rhythm with human calculations below. The planet itself had been woven into humanity's strategy. Every natural hazard had been studied, predicted, and sometimes weaponized. The unstable core-powered city grids, weapon systems, and even the vast intelligence network that linked every human installation, ship, and sensor. From this fortress, humans could project influence without aggression. They could observe every corner of nearby space, intervene in crises with minimal footprint, and guide the galaxy toward stability without coercion. They had mastered a new kind of power, control without domination, influence without subjugation. In the halls of Keros 9, General Kincaid spoke to a council of diplomats, humans and alien observers alike. "We do not conquer," she said, her voice calm but resolute. "We protect. We teach. We guide. But make no mistake, humanity is prepared for everything. Every threat. Every test. Every limit. Our strength is not measured by firepower alone, but by the ability to endure, to adapt, and to act decisively when needed." An alien ambassador, a Virelli, asked hesitantly, "And if the galaxy chooses war?" Kincaid's eyes were steady. "Then we will survive. And when we survive, we will ensure the galaxy remembers why humans are never to be underestimated." The statement was not a threat. It was a principle. Years passed. Centuries in Concord terms. Children trained, fleets built, simulations run, alliances formed. Humanity did not rush. They did not flaunt power unnecessarily. They had learned the lesson of patience. The galaxy moves slowly, but humans move within it at their own pace. They uplifted worlds that asked for aid. They stabilized regions torn by chaos. They prevented disasters, corrected imbalances, and sometimes, silently, they removed threats before they could become catastrophic. Yet they never overstepped. Humanity's philosophy was clear. Power is defined not by domination but by choice. And the galaxy adapted. Old empires became cautious. New powers rose. Trade networks thrived under human-informed protocols. Military doctrines across hundreds of species shifted toward resilience, adaptability, and redundancy. In the minds of all observers, humans became the standard against which all strategy was measured. Above it all, Keros 9 remained silent and storm-racked, a fortress disguised as a world of chaos. The planet itself was a teacher, a sentinel, and a symbol. Humanity had chosen not to be conquerors. They had chosen not to impose their will. They had chosen to survive, to rise, and to guide. And in doing so, they had become something the galaxy had never seen. A species that could not be ignored, predicted, or controlled. Because humans had learned the ultimate truth of survival. Strength is meaningless without intelligence, power is meaningless without foresight, and dominance is meaningless without restraint. And so humanity waited, not for war, not for conquest, but for the day the galaxy truly understood them. Centuries had passed since the Concord tried to contain humanity. Centuries in which the galaxy had watched, whispered, and feared the humans. And yet, humanity had not waged unnecessary war. They had not sought dominion. They had simply become inevitable. Keros 9, the so-called death world, remained their seat, a planet of storms and mountains, lightning tearing across copper-red skies. Below the surface, the cities and tunnels had grown into a network the scale of which no alien civilization could comprehend. Power grids intertwined with seismic vents. Intelligence networks linked ships, colonies, and sensors as if they were all part of a single living organism. Humanity did not need to conquer. They only needed to exist, and to teach the galaxy the lesson of resilience, strategy, and adaptation. A new council gathered on Keros 9. Human leaders, diplomats from neutral species, and even cautious representatives from former Concord systems attended. The room was a vast chamber carved from living rock, the walls humming with energy, projections of distant stars floating in midair. General Mara Kincaid, older now, stood at the center. Her eyes scanned the assembly, calm but piercing. She began. "We were given one planet to die on," she said. Her voice carried across the chamber and beyond, reaching distant listening posts. "We were told to be insignificant, to vanish quietly, to be remembered only as a cautionary tale." Pause. And yet here we are. Alien diplomats shifted uneasily. Some avoided her gaze. Others, like the Virelli ambassador, watched with awe. "We did not rise by accident," Kincaid continued. "Every threat was studied. Every limitation turned into a weapon. Every attack transformed into experience. Humanity survived not by chance, but by choice, and by intelligence, by foresight, by the refusal to be underestimated." The assembly fell silent. Even the most seasoned alien diplomats could not fully grasp the depth of human planning. A crystalline member of the Aurelian choir finally spoke. You did not conquer, yet you are unstoppable. How can a species exist without expansion or dominance and still wield such influence? Kincaid smiled faintly. Because influence is not measured by the number of systems you control, but by the weight of inevitability. You can ignore a threat. You can underestimate it. You can even attack it. But if it survives every challenge, eventually the galaxy listens. Outside the chamber, Keros 9 roared. Lightning struck peaks of rock, volcanoes rumbled, and massive storms danced across the sky. The planet itself was alive, a sentinel, a fortress, and a warning. Humans had learned to weave their cities, fleets, and intelligence into the world's energy. Keros 9 was no longer just a planet. It was a symbol of apex survival. From orbit, human ships aligned in patterns that seemed chaotic to alien eyes, but every vessel was linked to the network below, every movement coordinated perfectly, every possibility anticipated. The galaxy saw them not as conquerors, but as guardians of inevitability. A young alien diplomat, barely old enough to remember the Concord as it once was, finally asked, almost trembling, Why did you not destroy the Concord when you could? Kincaid leaned forward, voice soft but firm. Because destruction teaches nothing. We survive to teach. And what we teach is this: never assume weakness. Never ignore intelligence. Never underestimate resilience. Power is not conquest. Power is choice. The galaxy listened. Systems that had once bowed to the Concord began to rebuild, using human principles. Decentralized power, redundancy, adaptability. Civilizations reorganized around foresight and intelligence rather than sheer force. And Keros 9 remained, ever storm-torn and untouchable, a fortress not just of steel or technology, but of human ingenuity, strategy, and determination. Centuries after the first exile, humanity had reshaped the galaxy. Not by war, not by domination, but by survival, by adaptation, and by proving that one species could rise against every expectation and redefine what it meant to be apex. Kincaid's final words echoed across the stars. You gave us one planet to die on. We turned it into a fortress. We became more than you ever imagined. And now the galaxy has learned the truth: humans cannot be contained. Humans cannot be predicted. Humans endure, and in enduring we teach the universe its final lesson. The assembly fell silent. Across light years, species absorbed the weight of those words. And in that silence, humans understood something profound. They did not need to dominate. Their strength was measured in resilience, intelligence, and the ability to rise above every obstacle. The galaxy had learned. The lesson was clear. Do not underestimate humanity. Do not assume limits where none exist. Do not give one planet to a species without realizing that the world you thought was a prison can become a fortress. And humanity would continue to rise, patient, vigilant, and unstoppable, shaping the galaxy not as conquerors, but as the species that had refused to die, and in refusing, had become legendary beyond comprehension. The storms of Keros 9 raged on, the lightning splitting mountains and skies, but beneath it humanity endured, eternal, prepared, and supreme.